What's up, guys? Boy here. Today we're doing another video. Today we're taking a look at the Damascus steel kukri. Let's begin. So this is what you all get out there, and here is what the box looks like. Damascus blade knife, which, as you all know, this one is, of course, look at that. We found the place who made these knives. Oh wait, look at this. SZCO. Uh-oh. I can see some similarities. We'll focus on the camera. We'll focus on that one here. But look. SZCO. Y'all know what that is. You know, the CX out there. Yeah, I think that's probably the same people who made this. Of course, it has the made in Pakistan. Now, to be honest about it, Pakistan can be pretty hilarious at the same time. We're not going to crap on it because it's made in Pakistan, because there are some knives that are actually good out there, and then there are some hilariously bad ones out there, but you know what I'm talking about. And the reason why it looks similar, like the CX out there, because look at that. This right here. Yeah, the ring guard and everything. But you could definitely know. The sheath is made of leather, which it also is pretty thin. You could probably see from here. And when I actually was like moving the frog that, to hold the sheath out there. Yeah, I kind of fixed this all around out there. And when I actually recognized this one right here, well, it actually has two small holes out there. So here's the hole for the sheath for the big piece, the big blade out there. And there are the two knives out there, which I want to show you about this here, which you definitely don't know for it. This right here. So one of them basically is for like honing and skinning right here. And this one is for just sharpening. So there you go. So let's go try on the sheath. Okay, now let's get to the kukri itself. Now the kukri is pretty weird about this one is this is actually much smaller than my Gurkha kukri, which you could definitely know from the blade size up there, because it's actually more of a knife size, and I actually did looked up on kukris, and they are considered to be a knife out there, not a machete out there, which you could definitely know for it. Okay, this one is made of alloy steel, which is basically, of course, have that wavy Damascus on it, which, yep, that's what the Damascus steel is. And you can see the weird part about it, there's no wavy thing on that. Of course, you got basically metal pieces, brass fittings, wood pieces. I mean, it's I never had something like this, which is pretty interesting out there. I think when I get more of it, I'll probably see if it's good or not out there. So, got like brass on like basically on both sides out there. 5 at the bottom, 5 at the top. Layer of steel, brass, wood, brass, steel on there, and wood, brass, and then brass on there, and then a piece of wood there. This basically, the tang itself, judging by the tang itself, it's pretty tiny. I mean, it's like this, probably this size out there. And it probably go from there to there with the pin the brass pin on there. So, yeah. Of course, the blade itself is... Weird part about it, that is supposed to be the notch right here. Yeah, it's supposed to be that weird notch piece. But this one, on the other hand, when you put it in the weird direction, it's not really aligned with the notch well. So, that's weird. And then you get these two knives out there, which, if you believe it or not, and let me point these two out for a reason. Okay. You could see from it. So, you got one is actually for honing and skinning, and then you have one for, like, sharpening out there. Yeah, that's actually not really that sharp at all, because it is meant to be a sharpener. You know, for these, they're just basically two small knives. And in fact, it's actually the same size, believe it or not. Yeah, kind of weird. Of course, there's, again, this probably like alloy steel with the wood pieces with two brass drived in there. And you see is like the tang on these two. Of course, the sheath itself, I think I talked about the sheath, yeah, is pretty thin. I mean, it's really insanely thin out there by it. Like, you got like a big old hole for, you know, for the blade, the main blade. But for the small knives, you're gonna have to, like, sandwiched in there, which you could definitely know. So, we could definitely know the size is basically, so size on the small knives out there be around about 3 inches. Meanwhile, for the handle would be around about almost 2 inches, like 1 3/4. Meanwhile, the overall size would be around about 4 3/4. Meanwhile, for the kukri blade would be around about the size of like 10 inches. Meanwhile, for the handle would be around about of 7 inches, or rather 6 3/4. Meanwhile, for the overall size of the kukri would be around about like 18.5 inches, if you can get it right there. So, it's time for a little game called Size Comparison. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and the people who are watching this at home or at your work or whatever, we're going to do a little size comparison. Now, let's go talk about the SZCO kukri. Let's go try it with the small knife first. So, let's begin. Size comparison, and oh, it's a little bigger. Oh, see, it's a lot bigger than you think, or a lot smaller. Oh yes, we're aligning out there with the. It actually beats up with the K-bar Akron skeleton knife, the old timer small knife from the hunting pack, rosewood karambit, TRS Titan, Gerber profile drop point, gut hook from the hunting pack 3 hunting pack, Prodigy, the Gerber Prodigy. Yeah, it's a little like a butt crack out there, but you could definitely know it's a little smaller. Let's see, this one's a little smaller than the USAF pilot knife, Buck 119 Special, the cleaver from the old timer hunting pack, Hungarian AK-47 bayonet, the survival knife, the basically Ruko K1061, USGI bayonet. It is literally bigger. D2 Extreme Clone, TRS Titan, the Spanish Fair Sykes fighting knife, which is a clone, Fairgold Blades A-Tur, Swiss bayonet, Kar 98, Turkish Kar 98 bayonet, zombie tool Cilius, the SOG Tanto machete, SOG-fired Tanto machete, K-bar Zomstro, Samuel and Lee number 9 meat cleaver, just literally that big, K-bar Swabby, Cold Steel Kukri machete, Gurkha kukri, Cold Steel Smatchet, Zombie Tools Felon. So, you could definitely know what's your bet out there. It is unfortunately the smallest knife I've ever gotten by far. Oh wait, don't worry a little buddy. I think I have something you can definitely know for it. And you could definitely see why. It is even second smallest. Yes, you could definitely know for it. Now let's go talk about the kukri. It is a lot bigger than all of them. So, yes, if you kind of noticing out there, it is a little bigger than the rest of them. So, if you all know the names out there, well, I did it with the small ones. So I'm not going to say that again. Okay. Gonna get a little harder than I thought. Okay, let's see the Swiss bayonets, the Kar 98, the zombie tool Cilius, SOG-fired machete, K-bar Zomstro, Samuel and Lee meat cleaver, almost to the tip point out there. K-bar Swabby, which is a bit of a hair bigger. The Cold Steel Kukri, which is the same size, actually almost bigger. Almost a little bit, a hair bigger. And then it is not bigger than the Gurkha kukri, not bigger than the Smatchet, and not even bigger than the Zombie Tools Felon. So how do we lump this in? Okay. It's a little hard to put them all, but you can see why. So it is actually the 4th biggest knife I've ever gotten. And then this SZCO Kukri's little knife is basically just second smallest. So here is basically the size and where it is. So tune in next time if I get another knife, so we can do partake in another thing, or another part of size comparison. So let's test these bad boys out. So the results out there is actually good. Look at this. It's actually just one like clean cut out there. Now I was about to like chop through this one, but unfortunately it fell. So it's gonna be in two pieces. Meanwhile, for the other hand, basically, yeah, you gotta have to like strike pretty hard on that one. But again, it's a pretty clean cut from that. Meanwhile, for chopping on the thing, I basically somehow strike like that out there. Again, almost like clean cut to that one, or well, almost an entire like cut to the thing. Meanwhile, for the knives themselves, the two small knives out there weren't really good tested out there because I striked on one, which, I mean, it was like that. They're pretty small. But the thing about it, I actually managed to sharpen these two after I tested out there. Yep, it's this one. See how sharp it is? Like that out there. So, there we go. So, as you definitely all know, from my final verdict rating on the Damascus steel kukri, which they're going to have to say this out here, is around about of an 8 out of 10, or even a 7, because the construction on it's a little pretty weird out there. And if you actually like put the two knives in there, it will basically give like this weird scratch on the piece itself, which that's a pretty bizarre case on this one. So that wraps up. Now I gotta say, for my recommendations out there, I don't really, if you actually saw from my previous reviews out there, for price range, or for price, the cold steel kukri machete or even the Zombie Tools Vakra would work. And of course the Gurkha kukri, which again, that's a good choice out there. And funny part about it, I actually compared it to a lot with this guy than, well, size of that, but the sheath wise is basically, for a reason behind all of it. So that wraps up of the Damascus steel kukri. I'm Mario Tillboy, and I'm signing out. I'll see you guys next time. So, and this is not like maybe a couple months or anything, but this was like a week, believe it or not. So, when I was actually doing that whole, size comparison, I found out this problem. Now, I would have signed out and basically just gone my merry ways, but these been rusted for like a week. Yeah, that's... And my Damascus steel... Now, okay, that's basically that I could clean that out, so... But, this... Wow. That's, oh my goodness, look at that. It's on the same level, like... Let me bring this up. It actually has the same level like this. A core knife that basically was sitting around for like years at a barn. Which is... But at least for that, it didn't have... It actually... Also another thing... And this is kind of a bit recent, like... Or recently bought like this. Which don't see any rusts, to be honest here. And this is, like, I used a lot with this one. And to be honest here, I've always oil these, which is always important. But for something like this rusting this quick, and this is probably a new piece, that's probably a big giant no-no on something like that. Now, for something like that, I think because when I tested it, decided to oil it, you know, as usual, this was the result. Now, I could use to oil it, scrub it off, scrub the whole rust off. So, I'm going to have to take some points off for this thing. And I'm going to have to give the SZCO Damascus Steel Kukri an astounding of a 5 out of 10. Yes, you heard it right. You know, if I got something like the Vakra, which is no surprise to that probably will not... Heck, my cold steel... Somehow, let me show you this. Let's see. There it is. Somehow, my $15 cold steel kukri, you know, basically, you know, like 11 years ago, barely any rusted. And again, basically some really cheap steel somehow didn't rust quickly like one for $100 piece or $80. Yeah, that's pretty unacceptable. And I actually thought this was like just a new knife and it's somehow, but I didn't see something rusted this quick. Well, it's basically one of those Pakistani made pieces, which it's still sharp, but just imagine the absolute horror of this thing. I think for like a couple months after this, probably the thing would like break off or rust it off so badly that it actually broke off. But that wraps up of the SZCO Damascus Steel Kukri for the second time. I'm Arto Boy, and I'm signing out. I'll see you guys next time.